So tonight, if you're considering attending a large public university, whether it's in your state or across the country, our panelists are going to share some tips for the application process, academic success, getting involved on campus, and tips for financial aid and scholarships. We have a great group for you tonight, including Florida State, Penn State, University of Arizona, and the University of Georgia. Before we get started, let me share some information about the Coalition for College, who's hosting this webinar tonight, and the work that we do. So the Coalition is made up of 150 different colleges and universities with a proven commitment to access, affordability, and student success. And together, we provide a set of tools called My Coalition to help students learn about, prepare for, and apply to college. We believe that Coalition schools are smart college choices because the commitment they share, the commitment they all share as Coalition member schools dedicated to graduating students on time with low or no debt. And this includes those who have been historically excluded or underrepresented in higher education. Members of the Coalition provide a variety of smart college choices for students to explore and apply to, with a wide variety of student body sizes and levels of selectivity. And still, collectively, Coalition schools outperform the national average by about 17% when it comes to retention, which is the number of students who return after their first year in college, and graduation rates, which are important factors to consider when thinking about the college you want to attend, because how much time you spend in college will impact how much money you spend in college as well. So when you're building your college list, a great place to start is by exploring over the 150 different Coalition member schools. And speaking of building your college list, I've already mentioned My Coalition, which provides the college list and the collaboration space, an easy way for students to discuss these smart college choices and collaborate with a mentor and receive feedback on their list. Students can also collaborate on other documents they store in their virtual locker, and this unlimited storage space is a perfect place for you to keep pictures or PDFs of your designs and artworks, videos, or auto files, dance, music performances, papers, video blogging, whatever you would like to, think about with your college search. And as mentioned, Coalition schools work together to provide students with these free tools. You can get access, and you can get access by creating your free account at mycoalition.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and bring some of the insight and inspiration related to all these things about college right to your feed. Additionally, if you decide you have questions after tonight's webinar, please send us an email at info@coalitionforcollege.com. So as mentioned, we received many questions from students that registered for this event, and I'm going to get right to asking our panelists these questions. We're going to try to hit a number of topics ranging from everything from admissions requirements to fit and financial aid. So I want to go ahead and get started, and we will do that by asking each of our panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name.
You're still on mute.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Fantastic. So, hey, everyone. My name is Aisha Delavo. I am the Assistant Director of Regional Recruitment here at Florida State University. I did attend the university, so I'm very familiar with all things Florida State, and I'm very excited to introduce you all to FSU and help answer some questions for you.
Melinda?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda DeMaria. I'm the Associate Director for Marketing and Recruitment in the Undergraduate Admissions Office at the University of Georgia, and appreciate the opportunity to join you all this evening.
Joe?
Everybody, my name is Joe Elliott. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Undergraduate Recruitment. I'm one of our regional-based employees, live out in New Jersey, and really just excited to chat with you all about big schools.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel Sarte. I am an admissions counselor and an out-of-state recruiter here at Penn State. I work primarily with students from California, Hawaii, Alaska, Nevada, and Puerto Rico. I'm looking forward to spending the next hour with my colleagues here and with all of you tonight as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, to start things off, I know some of you may be seniors thinking about the admissions process. And one of the things that you have to decide on early, or you might hear about, is the differences about applying early action versus regular decision, and if there are advantages of applying early. So Georgia, I'm going to go ahead and start you with that question.
Sure, thank you. There is so much on your minds right now. And for many schools, we have different timelines and different application timelines in which you can apply. There is early action and there is regular decision, and there are some schools that have early decision. For early action, that is an application that typically has an earlier deadline than those that might be later in your senior year. For example, at the University of Georgia, our early action deadline was actually last Friday, October 15th. And we have begun the process of doing a holistic review of those applications with the goal to have everything turned around to release a decision to those applicants by the latter part of November. For students who are applying early action, at most institutions across the country, they're not bound by that decision. So they have the option to consider other early admit opportunities as well. For a student who applies early decision, those are students who their parents, their school officials are going to sign an agreement that if they are admitted to the school they applied early decision to, that they will accept that offer of admission and withdraw their other applications from any other school. Some of the advantages, I think, for applying early action are that you're able to get that off your to-do list. And if you're in that place as a senior where you've got all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed with your essays, you have put everything together in terms of your resume, your portfolios, your recommendations, and you're ready to go ahead and check that off your list. At some schools, you'll find that there is a benefit to applying early in their processes, but you will also find some schools that it's merely a timeline to release a decision earlier. Some schools, we fill our classes with a good chunk of those early admits, and some may wait a little bit later in that process. I think for the University of Georgia, the advantage is you're able to get it off your to-do list and you get an answer sooner. There is no extra credit for applying early. There's no extra points. We look at those students' files the exact same way we do those students who apply regular decision. And with regular decision, for a lot of schools, it's going to be a January deadline. For some schools, it may be a little bit later. So you just want to be sure you're paying close attention to those deadlines.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned several things when you were talking about make sure you have all this information in. So just to give our audience tonight an idea of what you do require, if you just show your hands and I'll name it off, how many of you this year require students to put in test scores? So University of Georgia and Florida State both require test scores, and Arizona and Penn State, are you both test optional this year? Okay. What about how many of you require students to write an essay? So University of Georgia. Okay. How many of you require letters of recommendation? Nobody. Wow. Okay, students, one less thing to worry about if you apply to these schools. And then there's something called, I know all of you look at the transcript, but how many of you actually, instead of having students fill out a paper transcript, you have them fill out like a self-reported academic record, or you have them report their coursework in the actual application? Everybody. Okay, so you'll find that that's pretty popular at public schools. So I'm Florida State. I'm going to have you talk a little bit about this. Can you talk about what that is and what's the best way for a student to go about that?
Absolutely. So that's a great question.
Oh, I'll have you unmute yourself.
Yeah, so that's a great question. The SSAR is the self-reported student academic record. It's something that we use at FSU. Some other large public universities in the state of Florida also use this. And what it is essentially a self-reported transcript. So As a student, seniors, what you're going to do is just sit with a copy of your transcript. You are going to put in every course that you've taken for high school credit. And so for some of you, that may be back in middle school where you've taken some high school credit, maybe a Spanish or an algebra, something of the sort. And you are going to give us your transcript. You won't have to go through a counselor or anything like that. It allows us to be able to review your coursework, look at your senior class schedule, and gives us an opportunity to give you a little bit of an earlier decision when it comes to how we review our applications. But we're not going to ask for anything paper in terms of transcripts anyway until after you've been admitted. So we're trying to really cut down on the amount of paper that we're taking into the university. We're going to ask you for that information beforehand for your decision. So it's not a hard process. It is a long process. So I will not sugarcoat that. It does take a few minutes, maybe 45 to an hour to truly complete. But once you do it, the great benefit about that is once you do it one time, any other school that's going to ask you for the SSAR, you will not have to do it again. It's one and done type of thing. So really, really a great opportunity to get your grades in, your coursework into us.
Thank you. So I have a question for Arizona. I know one of the things that you have is called assured admissions requirements. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So University of Arizona, excuse me, as a public institution, we're overseen by the Arizona Board of Regents, who requires students satisfactorily complete 16 core courses. So students apply, self-report their courses. We use what we call sixth semester, so freshman, sophomore, and junior year, sixth semester core unweighted GPA. If a student has a 3.0 or higher in those 16 required courses, they will be assured admissions to the University of Arizona. So some of that criteria is you have to be at a publicly accredited high school, which most schools in the United States are publicly accredited, or you're in the top 25% of your class. But that, a lot of students say, we don't rank at our school. We just look at that 3.0 or higher. So if you have all A's on your transcript, you'll assured admissions. I wouldn't say you will be, but we would look at your transcript or your self-reported grades. Students that fall below, they get what we call a comprehensive review. So if you have a C in one of those 16 courses, we just take a little bit extra time to do a much larger look at your application.
Thank you. So my next question, I'll have you answer, Penn State. I know a common question for public schools is, do I get advantage as a resident, or am I disadvantaged if I'm a non-resident? So can you talk a little bit about that for your particular school?
Sure. Yeah. So of course it will vary by institution, but for Penn State, the answer is short and sweet. Residency does not come into play at all when we review applicants. So there's no preference for Pennsylvania residents. There's no preference for out-of-state residents. Our evaluation is going to be primarily based on our academic review. So for 9th through 11th grades and senior year schedule, that's going to be our primary focus. I will say pretty much on average, about 65% of our undergraduate enrollment are Pennsylvania residents and 35% are out of state and international. It just kind of happens to work out that way. It's not like a specific percentage we're looking to meet year after year, but we do have, as you can tell, a very healthy community of out of state students at Penn State.
Great. For the rest of you, do any of you have preferential treatment for residents? No. All right. Well, I'm sure that made a lot of students happy. So good. I know a big question you probably all get every time you do one of these presentations is, the impacts of COVID on students, whether that be not being able to take the curriculum they wanted, having pass-fail grades, not being involved in the ways they wanted to be. Can each of you just quickly, in just a quick second, so we can get to a lot of questions, talk about, if any, what has changed in your process since COVID kind of happened. If you change testing or the way you review to kind of, help students think about how to present themselves. And we'll go in opposite order tonight. So I started. So let's go ahead and start with Penn State.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, definitely. Our most significant change was going test optional when COVID hit. We are continuing that policy through at least next year. We haven't yet decided officially if we will continue to be test optional after 2023. But that was, yes, our most significant, and I think probably the only major change in our admissions process that I can think of at the moment.
Joe?
I was responding to a message. So Arizona has been a test optional school for prior to COVID. I think the one thing that changed for us was our College of Engineering, College of Nursing, and a W.A. Franke Honors College required tests, but they've all eliminated the testing requirements. So we are truly that test optional school where we say you don't need to submit them, even if you do, they're not going to be used in any sort of application review or any sort of merit review.
Georgia?
So we are governed by the University System of Georgia, which is a governing body called the Board of Regents. And as such, they determine what our requirements are in terms of required items with that. And for the time during COVID, we were test optional, but we have gone back to being test required. And our review process is the same as it was pre-COVID. We do in that holistic review process, though, try to be cognizant and aware of the challenges from a socioeconomic standpoint, from what is the makeup of the home, and then what are the personal challenges beyond that from a learning environment, from a mental health standpoint that students have endured. And so we want to be able to factor those in our decision process.
Yeah, and so much like the University of Georgia, Florida State University is also governed by a body called a Board of Governors in the state of Florida, which does make up our requirements in terms of academics, requiring us to have test scores and course requirements and such. We do have a holistic review process, and a part of that holistic review process in the past couple years has been to use landscape data, which is provided to us to be able to look into each applicant's schools, what they have access to, both at their schools, in their neighborhoods, how they perform in their schools amongst their classmates, and not necessarily comparing them to out-of-state students or a school up the street. It's really looking at the student, where they are in their environment, what they have access to, and what they've taken advantage of. We have found that students are continuing to do some of the same great things. And so while it's not required for an essay and resume, we do absolutely encourage all students to give us that information so that we can see, how has COVID possibly impacted you, and what things have you learned and been able to push through despite.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. I'm going to transition a little bit to academics. We can go back to admissions, but I think I'm going to throw the first question out to Penn State is, how do you support students in finding the right academic program, and how difficult is it to change your major?
Yes, for sure. So a couple of different things here. When students apply to Penn State, they will list an intended major on their application, but really all that does is it helps us identify which academic college to evaluate the student for admission. And then once admitted to an academic college at Penn State, most of our students are actually pre-majors when they enter, and they have those first 2 years to really either solidify that the major that they listed on their application is truly what they want to pursue. But that also means that they have those first 3 or 4 semesters to change their mind. They have flexibility there to either choose a different major within that same college. So maybe mechanical engineering instead of industrial engineering, or they can look outside, completely outside, and look at a different academic college if their interests like completely change once they're at Penn State. They'll also have an academic advisor assigned to them at orientation. So starting from day one, they'll have someone there to help support them academically. Again, finding the right classes, registering for them, changing, being flexible if they need to. So there's going to be, a lot of support for them in that case. And then academically, for academic support, we have Penn State Learning, an office dedicated specifically for providing tutoring, for providing study groups for students who need some additional resources, again, to just help support their academic endeavors here, making sure they're successful.
Great. So beyond just the academics, I know that there are honors programs. And so I guess I'm going to toss this one to Florida State. Can you talk a little bit about honors programs or an honors college, how students apply or get admitted? What are the benefits?
Yes, absolutely. So if you are a student who really benefits from maybe smaller class sizes, faculty interaction, peer connections, then honors programs are definitely something that you want to look into. Most cases, they're taught by distinguished faculty and professors of all disciplines. They're committed to, really helping you get immersed in your academic experience at those particular universities. At Florida State in particular, there is a separate application or a supplemental application process that you want to complete. First, you let us know that you're interested in honors. You complete their supplemental application, and then you would be able to be considered for our university honors program. I think some of the great benefits in terms of honors programs is you get smaller class sizes. So our average class size is about 21-to-1 student to faculty, and then our university honors students experience even smaller class sizes, about 15 to 18 students in their courses. And so if you're a student who really just wants to get immersed in your academics, you really want different or challenging opportunities, then honors programs are really, really great to consider. Sometimes they have exclusive benefits, such as maybe applying or getting your classes earlier, maybe honors only residence halls on campus, or other specialized programs such as scholarships or grant opportunities only exclusive to those honor students. So if you're a student who's like that and you really don't want to just experience like a lecture base and professors in front of you and you're just kind of sitting and learning or hearing, and you want to get really involved, then honors programs are really, really great to consider, especially at a larger university. It's a really great way to bring it home and bring it in even tighter.
Great. So, Joe, I'm going to kind of change it up. So we talked about honors programs and students want to, really engage and emerge in learning. But we also know students go to college for the first time, and they may have been a great student in high school, and now for the first time, they're struggling in a course. So I think one of the concerns about going to a big school is, if I'm struggling in a course, how do I get help?
So I think what's nice, and I probably could speak for all of us, I think large schools do a great job of making it feel a lot smaller than it actually is. And I think that's one of the cool things. Our faculty to student ratio is 15-to-1. 70% of the classes at Arizona have less than 30 kids. And you could be from one of 2 students from West Virginia that started this past fall and find other students that are from West Virginia. They have a way of finding each other. I think that's the same thing. Students are able to find resources pretty quickly. I'm sure everybody in this room has done some sort of online shopping in the past year. And when you do online shopping, there's that little box that pops up and it says like, how can I help you? We have that same thing on our website. It's called SOS, and it's a great resource for students to ask any single question that they might have at any time during the day. So it can be, how do I find tutoring through our think tanks that are spread out throughout our entire campus? It could be how to find Wayfinders, which is for first generation college students. It could be, how do I set up an appointment with my professor just to go and talk to them? So there's just a tremendous amount of resources. Arizona actually is completing a student success district in the middle of our campus, which is going to combine 5 buildings and a library. And it's going to centralize all of our learning support systems. The most popular at Arizona is the SALT Center, the Strategic Alternate Learning Technique Center for students with learning differences or learning challenges. That's the most popular program that students will enroll in at Arizona, just to get a little extra support, especially in that first year. But I think it's the most popular way to get support in any of your courses is going to probably be the free tutoring that's available at most schools throughout the country. But asking a professor, say, I just want to come and talk to you. We're very lucky at Arizona being such a large school. We have about 86% of our first year students are going to return for a second year. And I think that's all due to the support that Arizona gives them.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. So George, I think the other question for students is there's the other side of the academic piece, which is the research and the internships. How does a student go about finding those things and getting connected?
It's going to, again, be something very similar to what I think Joe said. One of the benefits of a large institution is that there are lots of offerings, and we within each of our own areas on a college campus are going to work to be sure those opportunities are out there for students to take advantage of. We can put it out there, but we can't make you take advantage of them. So we will do things in a number of ways, whether it is through first year recruitment, in our brochures, in our publications, in our transition information. Once you've been admitted, we will start again kind of hammering home some of those opportunities and resources. There will be emails, and I know many students get bogged down with reading those emails, but those emails are valuable in that they have tools and resources in front of them for you. Most of our institutions are going to want to try to hook a student into those resources, and especially with research, internships, co-ops, those opportunities very early on, so that you can kind of plan out when this may happen in that career opportunity. If you think of college as a career piece of it, we're going to have things on Instagram, on Twitter. You're going to see different reels where students are doing takeovers and talking about their experiences and their opportunities. So follow those different majors that you may be interested in. Follow those professors who you've heard about that you're like, oh, they're really popular. They're doing really interesting work, fascinating work. Take the time to look a little bit deeper and to pay attention to those opportunities. If I could for just a moment, we have a professor on our campus who's the first in the world to clone cattle. And regardless of that, how you feel about cloning, I recognize that everybody's not okay with cloning, but he seeks out first year students to work in his lab and to be a part of that, because he wants students to have this experience from the very beginning, not just when they're a graduate student. And so I think for all of our large research institutions, that is something that sets our students apart. When they go to apply for graduate school, when they're applying for those internships, they're able to say, look what I did as an undergrad. And so I think any of the schools that are here tonight, we would all echo that that's a plus.
Great, thank you. I think one question that students have is your big schools, whether you have 20, 30, 40,000 students on your campus, how big are their classes? And I'll let anyone take that, but how big can you think your classes are going to be your first year? And is there an opportunity to take smaller classes right away?
Saisha, if you want to go ahead, I'll go after you.
So, I mean, it really just depends. At larger universities like Florida State, your major coursework is really where it starts to get a lot more intimate. Your first year, if you are a student who is not coming in with any college credit for some of your more general education courses, some of those classes can be quite large. At Florida State, we have almost 44,000 students. And a lot of the general education opportunities there, it can get quite large. So anywhere between, 70 to, we have classrooms that can hold 500. So depending on the course, though your class sizes will vary for some of your first year general education requirements. In terms of major coursework, it does get a lot more intimate for sure, around that 21-to-1 student faculty ratio.
Very similar at Penn State. So our main campus, University Park, has over 40,000 undergraduate students. We have one lecture hall that seats about 700 students. And first year students can anticipate having one class in there, sometimes two, but we cap it at 2. So you're not going to have at any point at Penn State more than 2 classes total in that large lecture hall. From speaking with a lot of our current students, they all consistently say they, on average, are in classes that are about 25 to 35 students, even your first and second year. And then, like similar to Florida, once you get into your junior, senior classes, you're taking all majors courses, those class sizes will become much smaller as well.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about orientation and transition. I know a lot of you already shared some information and some tips for students, but I'm curious if you can talk about what does orientation programs look like? And if you could specifically address if there's anything for students who are first generation or BIPOC, just to make sure that, regardless of the particular student, they feel a part of your community.
All right, yeah, so that's a great question. So in terms of orientation, we do a really good job at onboarding students to the Florida State University community. At many of our great institutions, you'll have what you call an OL, or an orientation leader, who's essentially a student leader who's going to really kind of be your watchword and guide for like a couple days to really orient you to the campus. I think a second part of that might be really finding home at university. The benefit to going to a larger public university is that we have an array of amazing organizations on campus. There's most likely going to be an organization on campus for you, whether it's an identity-based organization, whether it is a cultural organization that you might want to get involved in. There is most likely going to be something there for you. At Florida State, we have over 750 clubs and organizations. So if any of those don't work for you, you have all right to go out and create your own organizations. In fact, that's how they get there. So we certainly encourage that type of excitement, especially when it comes to finding a home in some of your communities that you feel most comfortable with. The great part about it at larger universities like us is that most likely you are going to find a home in a community that you identify with, that you can get involved with and continue on from the time you get there on through to graduation.
I would just kind of add, I think everything that she shared is still applicable at the University of Georgia. We do have deliberate sessions for parents in those special population groups as well, recognizing that they need some guidance and some information to feel comfortable with this transition as well. We also highlight a special time during orientation when we talk about what the expectation is of our student body, and it is our student orientation leaders that lead this conversation. It's put on in form of a kind of a spoken word as well as video combination of things, but basically it is talking about things we tolerate and things we don't tolerate, how to treat one another and how to appreciate difference, and how you should expect to find people to treat you on our campus, to kind of set a standard, if you will, that we recognize a history that is our past, and we're not happy with it, and we're working to make changes to move that forward. And part of that is setting the expectation coming in. And so we have some real hard conversations at the very beginning to welcome students into a community of scholars.
Thank you. So one of the other important parts, of course, is transitioning is residence halls and res life. So I'm going to shoot this question over to you, Penn State. Do all students live on campus their first year? And traditionally, like how long do they stay 1 year? Do they stay all 4? So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I'm very focused on University Park because that is our largest campus, and this is a discussion about large campuses, but we do have 19 other campuses throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so I'll kind of speak to both. So at University Park, all first-year students are required and guaranteed to live on campus. We do have 5 kind of different residential living areas throughout different areas of campus, but our East Hall, so we have a Northeast, South, and West, and then Pollock, which is central. East Halls is all first-year students. So if you, as a lot of first-year students are kind of looking for a community where they know they're going to be surrounded by fellow first-year students, East Halls is there for them. It's traditional 2-person dorms with private bathrooms on each floor. But that's not the only place on campus that first-year students can live. They can live in our special living options throughout campus. They can also request to live in one of the other residential living areas as well, if they don't mind possibly being around upperclassmen or sophomores or things like that. At our 19 other campuses, really quickly, there's on-campus housing available at several of them, but it's not a requirement at any point during the 4 years. But coming back to University Park, what we've seen is that since it's only first-year students that are required to live on campus, it's kind of progressively year to year, about half of each class will then choose to continue living on campus. So if we follow one class, everyone's going to live on campus. Their second year, about half of those students will live on campus. Third year, about half of those students will live on campus. So there will be a group of students that will live on campus all 4 years, but the community kind of gets smaller and smaller from your original class year to year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe, can you talk a little bit about University of Arizona? Is it same way, freshman year? What are there different options available?
So we have in total 23 dorms on our campus. Only 70% of our first year students will actually live on campus. And this past year, we had our largest first year class was about 8,500 students. And in total, we have about 8,000 beds on our campus. So there were students that were first year that weren't actually able to live on campus because we don't guarantee housing for any student, regardless of what year they're at. So we don't require housing. We don't guarantee housing. If you're a current senior and have been admitted to the University of Arizona, you could actually pay your housing deposit at any time, even before you commit to the University of Arizona. It is $150 non-refundable, but as long as you pay that non-refundable by May 1st of 2022, you'd actually pick where you want to live on campus. So that's the one caveat that we always share. Most students will choose to live off campus. It's about 23% of our entire student population lives on campus. And part of that isn't by our choice. We would love everybody to live on campus because it makes the campus experience that much more fun. But Tucson is one of the more affordable college cities you'll ever encounter. And I know plenty of students that are living off campus, and when they tell me how much they pay for rent, it makes my head hurt a little bit because it is very affordable, and that's kind of where students choose to go. But we definitely have students all 4 years that will live on campus, and the smallest dorm is 100 students, our largest is 1,100 students. So it really just varies for the student experience.
Thank you. So talking about a little bit about involvement, a lot of students in high school played sports or were in, their high school theater. So now they're at this big school. And obviously maybe they're not a music major, theater major, Division I ready. Can you talk a little bit about, is there still options for them to be involved? And I'll start with Florida State.
Yeah, so there are great options to get involved. Something that my dad used to say was, those athletes put on their shoes 1 foot at a time, just like you. So anything is possible. But if you feel as though you're not Division I ready, there's many opportunities in club sports and intramural sports that you can get involved in. I played softball throughout my time in high school. And so when I got to Florida State, I was just very involved with our Division I team. So just being around the sport is actually something that you can do if you choose to do that. But yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities to get involved in intramural, club sports. They still compete if that's something that you like to do. And then our fields are pretty open. So you can get out there and practice, kick a soccer ball around if that's something that you want to do as well.
Great. So Georgia, I'm going to ask, one of the popular activities at some campuses is Greek life. So I'm wondering, if you are the first in your family to go to college, a lot of times that is brand new to you. So can you just talk a little bit about, what that is, the pros and cons of being involved, how it impacts the campus life, et cetera?
Sure. So there's different types of Greek life. So they're largely, when people think about Greek life, they're referring to social fraternities and sororities. And they typically are grounded with a nonprofit or a community service element that they are working to give back to. There are brotherhoods and sisterhoods. And from a networking standpoint, while you're on campus and after you leave the institution, it can have its benefits. There are different times that they have their recruitment or their rush. Some of them are in fall, some of them are in spring, some of them wait a year, depending upon the organization that exists. Some of them require letters of recommendation. Some of them, it's very secretive and you're kind of tapped to be a part of different organizations. Most of the institutions, our websites are pretty well fueled with data and information about the different types of organizations, as well as the costs that are associated with them. Some of them can be rather costly, to be straight honest about that. There's lots of things that are out there, I think, in terms of myths and rumors about Greek life on a social standpoint. Some of those things are true. Some of those things are not true. And as you know, with any myth and rumor, it can spread like wildfire. I think you need to ask questions of the institution that you are considering on what is the climate like on that particular campus. One of the things I love about the University of Georgia is that it has a reputation for being a big Greek life scene, but only about 18% of our student body participates in social fraternity and sorority life. So that tells you that out of the close to 800 clubs and organizations we have, our students are involved in a broad breadth and depth of offerings available to them. I will also speak that there are professional fraternities on college campuses that have to do with an academic major, whether it's specific to engineering or to dental school or to vet school, business schools. There are different organizations that have Greek letters affiliated with them. This is another way for social engagement, for connection, for philanthropic opportunities, as well as those networking pieces that can lead to internships, job opportunities, and having that support network long beyond. And they too have social elements to them. They're not purely driven just on the academic side.
Great, thank you. That was really informative. Appreciate it. I want to go now to talk a little bit about cost. I mean, certainly when we think about Christian schools, one of the elements that we all share is trying to make school affordable. And for public schools, one of those might be, a real affordability to students in your own state. And I know then additionally, some public schools also have opportunities for merit or need-based aid for out-of-state students as well. So there's also this big difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition. And so is it possible to attend a public school out of state if you don't have many financial resources? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Florida State, but I'd like all of you to kind of chime in.
So the short answer is yes, there are. When it comes to like funding education, I'm proud of Florida just for being able to still be affordable, one of the most affordable state university systems, in this country. Florida actually is the #2 most affordable state to actually attend a public university. And so we actually work to keep our tuition pretty low for our full-time students. I mean, of course, outside of FAFSA, and I think that somebody asked this in the chat as well, there's a number of merit-based scholarships that we offer. Most of our universities have wonderful foundations that are going to raise money specifically for students. And so that is always an opportunity for you all to get out there and grab some of those coins that are out there. And one thing that I love to tell students is that you all this is the one time in your life that you are going to get money thrown at you. It is going to be thrown at you, and all you have to do is apply yourself and apply to the money. And that's all you have to do. At this point, I think most students are in like maybe week 8 or 9 of school. And at every week, you should complete 10 scholarships. There's no way that you're not going to get anything. Okay. So as long as you apply yourself, as long as you are, making sure that what your grades are and your involvement too is like telling your story, you are going to have great opportunities for funding your education, especially once you get to the university and completing that aid package. It's going to be phenomenal for you when you apply yourself. A lot of students feel like the university is just going to give you a full ride and everywhere you go, which they can, and we absolutely do that. At the same time, there are the students who are going to need to apply themselves a bit more, especially if you're looking outside of a merit-based scholarship. We do have money to give, but you have to work for that, just in the same way you have to work at school for your grades and for your academics and your athletics and all the other things that you want out of your life. Money comes no different, folks. So there are opportunities out there outside of FAFSA, going to a state university. Within your state, there's a lot of opportunity in terms of what they offer, specifically in Florida. We do have Bright Futures for our Florida residents. So, doing what it takes to get your Bright Futures and get your tuition covered, whether it be 75% or 100%, look into what your state offers in terms of funding that you can be very close to receiving. So you should definitely put your best foot forward when it comes to that. Don't get lazy. You have until you graduate college to still receive scholarships, folks. It's out there. All of our colleges within our university give scholarships, programs give scholarships. You just really have to go out there and get it. It is available, and we want to give the money away. In fact, we have to. So please apply. Please look for those opportunities because they are out there.
Great. Anyone else want to add?
I was to say, Melinda, you can go. So at Arizona, I think the most popular way for in-state and out-of-state students to get that financial support is going to be the merit scholarship. So speaking for out-of-state students, a 4.0 student in those core courses will get a $35,000 merit scholarship, which is renewable for up to 4 years. And then our tuition for this past fall 2021 was about $37,200. So that's tuition and mandatory fees. What's nice about the tuition, being a public institution, it might go up every year. But what's nice is we guarantee that tuition. So whatever you start at, it's going to be locked in for all 4 years. So you have that merit scholarship, thinking top end is $35,000. The tuition is mandatory fees is $37,200. So that's a $2,200 bill for your tuition and mandatory fees. In-state students have a Pell Promise. So we actually, any student that's from the state of Arizona that is Pell eligible will match. So we really give that access. And that's one of the things I always talk about. we are a public institution. We primarily fund in-state students much higher than we would out-of-state students, but we do have some grants that are available, which is gift aid, that you do not have to repay back if you submit that free application for federal student aid. Then we have something called Scholarship Universe, which gives out $6.5 million worth of scholarships per year to any admitted student or any enrolled student at Arizona.
Great. That's great. Anyone else want to add anything from?
I was to say, I'm actually the mom of a sophomore in college. And I couldn't agree more with what my colleagues had said, but I want to go back to something I said earlier about those emails that you all get and that you don't want to read. Your counselors at your high schools actually spend a lot of time combing together list of scholarship opportunities for you that are there that apply to specific institutions and that can be more broad in general. And so the example I want to give, we have a local pest control company here in Athens, Georgia, that supplies services to about a 14-county area. My daughter applied for one of their scholarships. We don't even use that pest control. And she got $500 from them. And you may be thinking $500, that's not going to go very far. But it's $500 more than she had. And when it's renewable, that money can be really helpful. So number one, don't turn your nose up at small amounts of money. And number two, those emails really can have some jewels in them.
Thank you. One of the things that a couple people threw in the question before we started, which is a great question, is what type of student thrives on a big college campus? And I know at large schools, there's a lot of students, but thinking about the student who really thrives there, how would you describe that? And I'll start with Penn State.
Yeah, well, I'll say that there's going to be a place at Penn State for any type of student. Obviously, our students are very active and engaged on campus, but what makes it great to attend a large university, as many of my colleagues have already mentioned, is the number of different groups, organizations, activities you can get involved in. So no matter your personality, your interests, your passions, you're going to be able to find your community. I think the main thing is being proactive about it. You don't have to be an extrovert that goes out on day one and joins a bunch of clubs and really tries to befriend a billion different people. But I think once you kind of settle into campus and feel comfortable and start getting out there and start signing up for clubs and just kind of checking them out and realizing that you're going to be in there with lots of other students that are kind of feeling the same first year jitters as you. But you just kind of have to take the initiative to get out there, put yourself out there and see what that campus has to offer. Because I guarantee for me, and I actually did not go to a large university for my undergrad, I went to a small one, but it still took me about a semester to really settle in and not feel homesick anymore. But by the time my second semester rolled around, I really found my people, my group that I'm still close with today. So give yourself time, let yourself settle in, and then take the initiative to go out there and seek your community because you will find it.
Great. The other question that we kind of hit, but in a roundabout way, was about faculty and professors and if students get to know their faculty and professors and how accessible they are. Because again, people think large school, big classes. Anyone want to address, how do students at your campuses get to know their faculty and how they're engaged they are in that process?
Yeah, so I think the easiest and best way is to visit their office hours. Get in there when they post that they're available. Go and ask questions, get to know them. These are going to be the people who are going to write your recommendation letters for graduate school if you choose, law or medical school if that's something that you decide to do, job opportunities as well. So, go to their office hours, ask questions in the class. Don't be afraid, folks, to do that. College is not the time to be shy about questions at all. So definitely go into some of those open opportunities for work and office hours for your professors.
Thank you. In our last 3 minutes that we have left, I'm wondering if each of you will just give a piece of advice to students. I know we have juniors, seniors, parents, but as they're thinking about going to college, and obviously there must be some big schools on their list, what advice would you give them in thinking about, the school that they will choose? And we'll go ahead and start with Florida State.
My biggest advice here is to open yourself up to the opportunities of your possibility of getting an education. I would just tell you to shoot your shot, folks. You miss 100% of the shots you never take. And if you are not putting the opportunity out there, you are not going to receive it. So even though you're dead set on a particular school, give yourself 30 schools to apply to, or 15 schools to apply to give yourself options. FSU wasn't my first choice, but they gave me an opportunity that I could not refuse. So I encourage you to just explore your options and shoot your shot as many times as you can.
Great. Arizona?
I would say just ask questions. That's what we're all here for. Reach out to us, and we're people from all over the world on this Zoom right now, and it's not easy to get to any of these places depending on where you're at. Ask us questions. We're your resources to learning more about each of our institutions, and don't be afraid to ask a question. We're always, if you're not asking questions, we don't have anything to do. So that's really important to always remember, and just think outside of the box. I think that's really important. Don't always listen to what your friends are applying to. Listen to what's important to you, I think, is also another thing, because it's really up to your experience, not what your friend's experience is going to be.
Great. Georgia?
I'm going to take a little bit of a different spin if I can, and that is to set boundaries for yourself. This time is going to fly very quickly, and you are already dealing with heavy things and stressful things as you navigate this process. The deadlines, the nagging, where are you going to go? What are you going to do with your life? All of the questions that come. I promise you that for those of you that are seniors, on October 21st, 2022, you will not be where you are now. You will be moving on to the next. It might be a technical school. It might be a community college. It might be working. It might be taking a gap year. It might be joining the military. It is okay to set some of those boundaries, to look out for yourself. Be sure you're getting enough sleep. Be sure you're eating. Try to eat a little more than Fruit Chews and Capri Suns. But I want to encourage you to be sure that you're taking care of yourself, because your mental health and your physical health and emotional health is very important as you transition to whatever that next is.
Thank you. Penn State?
Yeah, I think I'll echo what Melinda said in a way and say that, I think a lot of the pressure that students feel when they're going through the college application process is the thinking that, there's one school out there that's the right fit for them. And I hope I get it right. I hope I find the one that I'm supposed to find. But if you think about it in a different way and think there's so many great schools out there, if you're a student that has a positive mindset, you have the right priorities, and you already know you're going to pursue and make the most out of your college years academically and otherwise, you're going to be a success at any college that you go to. So don't feel like there's a right or a wrong answer when you're looking for your college. Just find the ones where you feel like you'll find a home that's going to give you the kind of the majors academically and the extracurriculars that will really make your college years memorable, and you will be great no matter where you end up.
Thank you. Well, we're going to end it there. Thank you to all of our panelists tonight. Shared some great information. I think learned a lot. about all the advantages about attending a big public school and how to transition and be successful. Thank you for all the great stuff you drop in the chat. And I know that'll be really appreciated by our students to learn a little bit more. So much appreciated. So good evening, everyone. And we hope to see you next week when we have the how to fill out your FAFSA session. So we talked about financial aid. So come back next week and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper.